What is up, guys? Eric here at TeamEccenTrick, and I'm bringing you guys my Mekk-knight Invoked deck profile. This deck, I've been testing around with this deck for a little bit here and there, and I do enjoy it. I'm not exactly the most experienced with this deck. I mean, I've had it for a little while now, and I just haven't really played it. Like, I haven't filmed with it or anything like that. I believe the last Invoked variant I played was like 2 years ago, and it was like Invoked Spellbook or something like that. But nonetheless, this deck is actually seeing a lot of competitive viability at the moment. Just that, you know, the fact that Alistair in itself can turn into a one-card Mekaba with a monster negate, as well as the fact that, like, the deck it breaks boards very easily, and we are in a format where Spiral exists. So breaking boards is kind of an imperative capability that your deck would need in order to be considered competitively viable, as I said. And as it were, the deck only gets better with Master Rule 4.5 or 5 or Master Rule Revision, whatever you want to call it, coming in April. So the deck gets better. I mean, the extra deck in that scenario would change most likely. You'd probably play like more fusions or, you know, whatever the case. But nonetheless, this deck just really, it's an enjoyable deck to play. I will say that much. The only thing is I know that a lot of people are playing the Shaddoll Invoked variant of the Invoked strategy, and that's completely okay. I think that's probably honestly the better of the two versions, because you can facilitate a lot of crazy plays with the Shaddolls, like flipping them up and down and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But I just prefer this version, to be honest. I'm not really well versed with. I mean, I know how to play Shaddolls. I played in Shaddoll format, but I don't know. I just kind of like this version of the deck better. But either way, we're gonna get right into it, guys. Sorry for talking your guys' ear off about that. So this is, like I said, this is the deck that I have been testing around with a lot, and it's been doing rather okay. It has some weak points, but every deck does. You know, you're gonna have that. So, but starting off the main deck, obviously the triple Alistair. This card's amazing. It's a one-card Mekka by the moment you normal summon it, if that's the route you want to go down. It's actually really strong. It's the standard Invoked engine. I mean, what are you gonna do? So 3 Alistair, then from there we do play the Mekk-knights, so we play triple Purple Nightfall, double Blue Sky, double Indigo Eclipse, and then I play 1 Yellow Star as an extra search target, as well as for back row removal, because back row is kind of a thing right now. You know, decks like Altergeist, decks like Guru Control, they're all pretty relevant, so back row is a thing. Then moving on, a lot of going second cards, so we play 1 Pankratops in the main. This card is actually ridiculous. The only reason why I feel like its power was diminished when it first came out because of the fact that Thunder Dragons were a thing, as well as the fact that Orcusts were also a thing. But all that being out of the meta at this point, Pankratops is really a strong card, and I see why it went to 1, because if we had 3 of this, it would be just over the top. Like, it would be ridiculous. So we have the 1 Pankratops. I actually originally was main decking Drolls in this, and I liked it. I thought it was actually pretty decent, but the thing about Droll is it only works against particular matchups. So, like, obviously Spiral is a deck you have to look out for, so, like, maining the Drolls does not hurt. I very well would consider maining the Drolls, but at the moment I just think I want to facilitate Mekk-knights so that I can get more plays, so I do main 3 Gameciel. The thing about Gameciel is you can see multiple of this, and as long as you see a Mekk-knight that searches, that's actually really good. And here's why. So let's say you tribute over your opponent's guy, you have a Gameciel in your hand, you special summon the Gameciel to a zone, you special summon the Mekk-knight, or like let's say you normal summon something, link them off, make an extra deck monster, then you can special the Mekk-knight and do all kinds of searches and shit. It just facilitates your Mekk-knights. It's really good. So we have 3 of that, and then the Pankratops, and then now we have like the hand traps, I suppose you would say. We do main deck triple Nibiru. We want to stop our opponent's big boards. If we get the chance to. It's just such a strong card. You just have to make sure that you're able to clear the token afterward, which isn't too difficult. But, you know, I mean, if you make your opponent's token too big, they can just, like, turn around the following turn and whap you with it, and that's never a good thing. From there, we have the triple Gammas and the Driver. This engine really can be a bit problematic, only because like if you don't have a way to facilitate you know, your other copies of Gamma, like if you use one Gamma and then the driver gets banished, the other Gammas are basically blanks that are material for Mekka and Alistair. That's all they become. But I do play the Psyflame Lord Omega, and that just allows you to keep putting the driver back into the grave so that you can keep utilizing it, which can come up, but I mean, obviously it's not the most competitive idea, but it's something that I just feel like is a way to keep facilitating negates and keep facilitating ways to stop your opponent. So moving on to Ash Blossoms. Actually, it's kind of a nifty little thing with Cross Sheep. Another way to get into Omega so you can get back your Psyframes is if you have Blue Sky and you fusion someone with a Cross Sheep, you bring back this and then you synchro up and then you link off the Cross Sheep and something else and then you make Lambda, and then you can do it that way, or there's a bunch of different ways you can make the Omega, so it's not like just a one card, or it's not like a one trick pony type thing. Like there's a few different ways you can make it. But moving on to the spells, obviously triple magical meltdown. This card just searches your Alistair, it prevents your opponent from doing prevents your opponent from disrupting your fusion summons. And what's cool is with Cross Sheep or Alistair, the Invoker of Madness, that allows you to basically in a sense, I don't want to say chain block, but in a sense, kind of, it just prevents your opponent from responding to their effects because their effects activate in the summon window for the most part. So like, you can use Alistair the Invoker or the Invoker of Madness to search another copy of Invocation and go off with another play, and your opponent can't disrupt that because it's within the summon window when you fusion summon. So that's something that's really good about this card. Moving on, another 3 of triple instant fusion, just ways to get fusion summons so you can use Cross Sheep to the best of your ability. That card is actually nuts. I mean, it's literally Diet Norden, so that's a thing. Then after that, triple super poly. I was actually originally maining 2 mind controls and a Monster Reborn, but I just noticed that those cards kind of have diminishing results, in my opinion. Like, they have the results that are diminishing returns, because like, yeah, mind control's good, but if your opponent negates it, yeah, it's a bait, but it's also a minus. This, at least, this can literally screw your opponent over because they cannot respond to this either. And that's kind of what I'm kind of tailoring this deck around, is making it so your opponent can't respond to as many things as you can, you know, play. So literally every play you make, you're trying to make it so your opponent can't respond, or at the very least is reluctant to respond because of the negates that you set up. So that's it for the 3 of spells. We have 1 2 of spell, obviously 2 invocation. Playing 3 is really bricky. Plus, I mean, they are searchable through Invoker of Madness. And then 1 of spells, 1 Hornet Drones, 1 Terraforming. Hornet Drones is just a free link too. It literally becomes Cross Sheep or Nightmare Phoenix or whatever you want it to become, as long as it's not Lambda, because Lambda unfortunately cannot use tokens. But that is okay. The Hornet Drones is still easily one of the best spells. It's honestly probably the MVP of my deck, to be honest. I'm actually very happy I have this card in this deck. It's so good. And then 1 Terraforming, like I said, search your field spell. And then 3 traps, triple evenly, because back row, fuck you, and, you know, back row. So evenly is really, really strong. If you're not, at the very least, siding evenly, you're not going to have a good time. So moving on, extra deck, Boral Sword, Borreload, 2 Link 4s. Originally, I kind of want to play Apollosa, but I only have the 1 copy, and it's in Mermail, and I don't like switching in and out of decks. So, plus Borreload at least allows you to steal your opponent's Apollosa, which is the thing. You can like chain block, so you can like chain block the Borreload and steal the Apollosa. So then we have 1 Alistair the Invoker of Madness, 1 Cypher Lord Lambda, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, and 1 Cross Sheep. That's it for the Link 4s and the Link 2s. And 3 Link 1s, Almirage, Kagari, and Secure Gardener. The Almirage and the Secure Gardener are kind of self-explanatory because they allow you to basically make a 1-card Mecha off of it, Alistair. And then the Kagari obviously is for the Hornet Drones, so that you can make a free link too. So moving on, we have the fusions. Double Mekaba, obviously. 1 Purgatrio, obviously, because you want to kill your opponents. 1 Raijin, obviously, to flip your opponent's shit. This, you don't normally make this unless, like, there's Droll. You could, and that's why I was going to say, like, maining Droll is probably a good idea. So I may reconsider, like, that's one thing that I'm open to changing, is switching the Drolls back in and siding the Gamma Seals again. But I just really like having the Gamma Seals in the main, so you can literally just say no to your opponent's stuff, and again, you know, optimize on your Mekk-knight plays. But then from there, 1,000 eyes restrict because stealing your opponent's stuff. Not only that, the monster that gets equipped to this becomes another column for Mekk-knights, so that's another thing to remember, by the way. And then last but not least, the one Saffron Lord Omega, because Lambda as well as the Gammas are a thing. Side deck, I suppose I can show you the side deck. It's not really, like, this is not set in stone at the moment. I was going to take this deck to a regional, but we didn't unfortunately, everyone from TeamEccenTrick was going to a regional, but we didn't pre-register, so actually we ended up not being able to participate, which is unfortunate, because they were like, they capped at like 250 players, and like the last like 20 players who didn't pre-reg got in, or like the first 20 players who didn't pre-reg got in, and then after that, they just, basically we had to drive an hour, about an hour to the event, and then we ended up having to turn around and go home, which kind of sucked, but and it's unfortunate because it would have been Joe, the Noble Knight player on TeamEccenTrick's first competitive Yu-Gi-Oh experience, but that's Yu-Gi-Oh for you. So now for the side deck, triple droll. Obviously, again, I was saying these over the Gamma Seals in the main are probably the most competitive, you know, build. Like, you definitely would probably want to switch these in, but again, the Gamma Seals help you out with the Mekk-knight plays. After that, triple Cosmic Cyclone. I figure this is, like, there are pluses to both Twin Twisters and Cosmic Cyclone, and there are cons to both Twisters and Cyclone. I figure with Cyclone, like, you want to clear, if you can, your opponent's invocations. The moment they activate the invocation, yeah, sure, they'll get the fusion summon, but you chain this to the activation of invocation if they don't have the meltdown already, and then you can banish it. So that's the thing. I mean, it's not the best idea, but also it does help against spirals to clear the resort and things like that, and it just allows you to prevent your opponent from getting any adverse effects off of spell and traps that would actually prefer to be destroyed. So then triple Dark Ruler no more because spiral is a thing. Triple Crackdown. These are my cards for going first here. Triple Crackdown and triple Solemn Strike. You side these in over some of the hand traps when you go first, and then it just allows you to basically play a going first game. Like, some of the opening boards that I'll have with the traps are one Crackdown, one Strike, and then I normal summon the Alistair, get the whole invocation play, and get the Mekaba. There have been boards where I've ended on both a Strike, a Crackdown, as well as a Lambda with a Mekaba and a Gamma in hand. That has happened before, and all it takes is for you to have the Alistair, one of the an Alistair, a purple Nightfall, the traps, and then, or at least one or two traps, and then that's it, and you can easily facilitate your Psyframes. So, or you can easily facilitate that board of Lambda, Trap, Alistair, and things like that. So, but that is it for my Mekk-knight or my invoked Mekk-knight deck profile, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Obviously, this deck will probably be changing just a tad come April. I also do have some test hands I'm going to do with Mermail in a little bit. I'll make sure to post that as soon as I can. There's a lot of different decks actually I'm building. I built like a zombie deck that's kind of modeled around the one channel Crush cards. His Jacko-Bolon control deck profile. Yeah, that deck, I actually really like the concept of that deck. So that's something I'll bring to you guys, kind of, for the most part. It's a little bit different. It's obviously altered, but I'm not going to take full credit for that concept. It's Crush Card, the guy from Crush Card, that channel. It's essentially his deck profile with a few slight changes. Speaking of which, I actually met them at a regional, by the way, too. This was before Thunder Dragons got hit. I was playing Thunder Dragon, and I literally was sitting right next to him, and I remember activating Eradicator on my opponent, and he scoffed and was like, "Oh, that's brutal." But either way, guys, like I said, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Eric here with TeamEccenTrick, and I'm signing out. Rate and subscribe, leave your comments and ideas in the comment section below, and don't hesitate to give us respectful suggestions on content you want to see. Eric on behalf of the team saying take care, and TeamEccenTrick out.